Your heart is shattered. You're exhausted. You look around and see everything you built crumbling like sandcastles. The people you loved have turned their backs on you. The work you dedicated years of your life to has simply evaporated. The dreams you nurtured now seem like cruel jokes from fate. And in the middle of this storm, here you are, holding the pieces of your life, wondering if it's worth going on. I know exactly how you feel, because I've been in that place too. And if you've made it this far, if you clicked on this video in the middle of your desperation, it's because a part of you still believes you can get out of this. And you're right. Let me tell you a truth that will hurt at first, but will set you free in the end. There's an invisible divide in humanity. On one side are those who crumble at the first storm. They cry, they victimize themselves. They blame the world, blame circumstances, blame everyone except themselves. These are the majority. They live in packs, console each other with their excuses, create narratives about how life is unfair, how the system is against them, how they deserve better luck. These are the weak disguised as misunderstood. On the other side, there's an invisible minority. These are the ones who, when everything falls apart, don't look for shoulders to cry on. They dry their tears and ask, "What can I learn from this?" They don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What is this happening for?" These are what Napoleon Hill called people with definiteness of purpose. They understand that every breakdown is actually a rebuild in disguise. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the most successful minds of his time. He spoke with Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison. And you know what he discovered? That all of them had one thing in common. They had all gone through moments when everything seemed lost. Edison went bankrupt several times before creating the light bulb. Ford saw his companies fail twice before creating the automotive empire. Carnegie started as a poor boy working in factories. What separated them from others wasn't the absence of problems. It was the presence of an inner strength that others hadn't developed. This strength has a name: mental resilience. But it's not the romantic resilience of self-help books. It's raw, visceral resilience tested in the fire of real adversity. It's the ability to look into the abyss and not blink. It's the skill to feel fear and act anyway. It's the courage to rebuild when everyone around is saying it's impossible. Now let me show you something that will change your perspective forever. This pain you're feeling now, this sensation that everything is falling apart, isn't punishment. It's a natural selection test. Life is separating the warriors from the spectators. It's dividing those who deserve extraordinary victories from those who settle for mediocre existence. Think about it. How many people do you know who have never gone through anything difficult in life? People who always had it easy, who never had to fight for anything? Now tell me, do any of these people inspire you? Do any of them have stories that make your heart race? Do any of them possess that magnetic force that attracts genuine respect? The answer is no, because muscles only develop under resistance. Character is only forged under pressure. Legends are only born through suffering, transformed into wisdom. While you're here thinking you're unlucky, let me show you the other side of the coin. You're being forged. Every criticism you receive, every door that closes in your face, every person who abandons you when you need them most. All of this is transforming you into something that 99% of people will never be, someone unshakable. But there's a crucial difference between going through difficulties and being transformed by them. The difference lies in interpretation. The weak interpret problems as evidence they don't deserve success. The strong interpret problems as evidence they're being prepared for something greater. The weak look at storms and see destruction. The strong look at storms and see renewal. Napoleon Hill discovered something fascinating in his research. He realized that every great fortune began with great adversity. Every great leadership emerged from moments of great solitude. Every great character was molded in furnaces of great pressure. He called this the blessing in disguise of temporary defeat. Temporary. That's the key word. Everything that's falling apart in your life now is temporary. But what you're becoming through this experience, that's permanent. The skills you're developing to deal with this crisis, the inner strength you're discovering you possess, the mental clarity that comes when everything superficial is stripped from your life. All of this will stay with you forever. Now, let me tell you about the most interesting phenomenon that happens when someone chooses to be strong in the middle of chaos. People around them start reacting strangely. They become uncomfortable with your calm. They get irritated by your serenity. They try to convince you that you should be more desperate, more anxious, more worried. Why? Because your strength exposes their weakness. Your peace exposes the inner storm they live with, even when everything is fine in their lives. There's a deep psychological truth here. People don't attack you for what you do wrong. They attack you for what you represent. When you choose to be strong, while they choose to be victims, you become a mirror that reflects the mediocre choices they make every day. And that hurts them. So they try to bring you down to their level. They try to convince you that you're wrong to have hope, wrong to believe, wrong to keep fighting. But here's the secret that separates true winners from eternal losers. Winners use resistance as fuel. Every criticism becomes motivation. Every closed door becomes direction toward the right door. Every person who abandons them becomes space for better people to arrive. Napoleon Hill wrote something that changed my life forever. Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Read that sentence again. Every adversity, not some, all of them, carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. This means that the size of your pain today is proportional to the size of your victory tomorrow. But here's the problem. Most people give up before planting that seed. They become so obsessed with the pain of adversity that they can't see the opportunity hidden within it. It's like someone who finds a closed oyster on the beach and throws it away because they can't open it easily, not knowing that inside there might be a pearl. You know what happens when you develop this mindset? When you learn to extract strength from weakness, courage from fear, hope from despair, you become a magnet for opportunities. Why? Because you develop something that's extremely rare in the modern world: emotional reliability. Think about the people you most admire in your life. I bet they all have one characteristic in common. They're solid. You know you can count on them no matter what happens. They don't panic in crises. They don't crumble when things get tough. They're like rocks in the middle of a storm. And you know how they became that way. Exactly the same way you're becoming now, being tested and choosing to be strong. Now let me show you something that will blow your mind. You're closer to your victory than you imagine. I know it seems impossible. I know that looking around it seems like you're at rock bottom. But there's a principle that Napoleon Hill discovered studying thousands of success cases. The greatest victories always happen right after moments of greatest despair. It's as if life tests how far you're willing to go before giving you the prize. It's as if the universe asks, do you really want this, or will you give up like all the others? And most give up. Most get within a yard of the finish line and go home saying it's impossible, but not you. You got here not by accident. You're watching this video not by coincidence. Something inside you knows you're different. Something inside you refuses to accept mediocrity as a final destination. That voice telling you not to give up, that force keeping you standing when everything around collapses, that's not an illusion. That's your true nature emerging. You know what's the difference between strong people and weak people? It's not that strong people don't feel fear, pain, or exhaustion. They feel all of that. The difference is that they don't make these feelings the commanders of their decisions. They feel fear and act anyway. They feel pain and continue anyway. They feel exhaustion and persist anyway. Here's a truth few understand. You don't need to feel brave to act with courage. You don't need to feel strong to make strong decisions. You don't need to feel confident to take confident steps. Action comes first, feeling comes after. You act despite your feelings, not because of them. Napoleon Hill discovered that all successful people had developed what he called self-control. It wasn't about not feeling negative emotions. It was about not letting those emotions control their actions. It was about creating a space between stimulus and response, and in that space, consciously choosing how to react. While the weak react automatically to problems with despair, the strong respond consciously to problems with strategy. While the weak let circumstances dictate their mood, the strong let their values dictate their actions. While the weak ask, "Why is this happening to me?" into the strong ask, "How can I use this to my advantage?" And you know what's most interesting? The more you practice this mindset, the more natural it becomes. It's like developing a muscle. At first it hurts, it's difficult, you want to quit. But as you continue training, it gets easier. And there comes a point when being strong becomes your default response to challenges. Now let me show you something that will shock you. All these people who are criticizing you now, who are saying you should give up, who are trying to convince you that you won't make it, deep down they're rooting for you to fail. Why? Because if you manage to get up from this, you'll prove that it's possible. And if it's possible for you, then it would also be possible for them. And that means all the excuses they use to justify their mediocre lives would fall apart. So they need you to fail. They need you to give up. They need you to prove that it really is impossible to get up, because that way they can continue feeling justified in their mediocrity. They can continue saying, "See, I told you it was impossible. Even John couldn't do it, imagine me." But when you get up, when you win, when you transform your pain into power, you break that narrative. You become living evidence that it's possible. And then these same people who were criticizing you will start looking for you, wanting to know how you did it. They'll want your secret. They'll want your formula. Here's a brutal truth. You owe nothing to these people. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You're not getting up to show others that you can do it. You're getting up because that's what people like you do. You're getting up because it's your nature. You're getting up because choosing to stay down isn't an option for who you really are. Napoleon Hill noticed something fascinating studying successful people. He observed that all of them had developed what he called a burning desire. A burning desire. It wasn't a superficial want. It was a deep, visceral need that consumed them from within. This desire was so strong that it made giving up more painful than continuing. And you know how this burning desire is born? Through pressure, through adversity, through moments when everything seems lost. It's exactly in moments of greatest darkness that this inner flame ignites. It's when you have nothing left to lose that you discover what you really want to gain. You're in that moment now. You're in the phase where your burning desire is being born. This pain you feel isn't destruction, it's gestation. You're giving birth to a stronger version of yourself. And like every birth, it hurts. But the pain has a purpose. It's creating something new, something more powerful than what existed before. Now let me tell you about the power of strategic silence. While the weak make noise about their difficulties, the strong work in silence. While the weak spend energy complaining, the strong spend energy rebuilding. While the weak look for an audience for their dramas, the strong look for solutions to their problems. There's something magnetic about people who suffer in silence and work in secret. They develop an aura of mystery and power that attracts opportunities and valuable people. Why? Because silent strength is real strength. Noise is for those who have no substance. Those who have substance don't need to make noise. You've probably already noticed this in your own experience. The people who talk most about their achievements are usually the ones who have achieved the least. The people who make the most drama about their difficulties are usually the ones who do the least to overcome them. But the people who really make things happen, these tend to be more reserved, more focused on actions than words. Napoleon Hill discovered that all highly successful people had developed the habit of keeping their plans to themselves. They didn't go around telling everyone what they were going to do. They simply did it, and only talked about the results after they were already achieved. Why? Because there's an interesting psychological phenomenon. When you tell your plans to many people, your brain feels a premature sense of accomplishment. It's as if it had already received the recognition it was seeking, and then loses part of the motivation to actually execute the plan. Besides, when you share your dreams with people who aren't on the same mental level as you, they unconsciously try to discourage you, not out of malice, but out of limitation. They project their own limitations onto you. They tell you it's impossible because for them it really would be impossible. So here's a powerful strategy. Transform yourself into a ghost to the outside world and a hurricane to yourself. Let people think you've given up, that you're broken, that you won't be able to get up. While they're relaxing, thinking you're no longer a threat, you're working double to surprise everyone. There's something deeply satisfying about showing up where no one expected, about achieving what everyone said was impossible, about proving through results, not words, that you're made of different material. But be careful of one trap. Don't do this to prove anything to others. Do it to prove to yourself. External validation is a dangerous addiction. It makes you dependent on others' opinions, and people dependent on others' opinions can never make the courageous decisions that great victories require. Now let me show you something that can change your life today. You have permission to cry. You have permission to feel tired. You have permission to have moments of doubt. Being strong doesn't mean being a robot without emotions. Being strong means feeling all emotions and still choosing to continue. True strength isn't the absence of vulnerability, it's the presence of controlled vulnerability. It's recognizing your human limitations and still refusing to be limited by them. It's accepting that you'll have weak moments and planning, so these moments don't define your trajectory. Napoleon Hill realized that all successful people had developed what he called a mastermind, a support network formed by people who shared similar goals. But here's the important detail. This network wasn't formed by people who lamented together. It was formed by people who strengthened each other. The difference is subtle but crucial. Lamenting groups make you feel better momentarily about being bad. Strengthening groups make you work to get out of the place where you're bad. Lamenting groups validate your victimization. Strengthening groups challenge your comfort zone. If you look around and realize you're surrounded by people who only know how to complain, who only know how to make drama, who only know how to victimize themselves, then you know why your life isn't evolving. You're being influenced downward. You're being programmed for mediocrity. But if you can't change the people around you, at least change how you interact with them. Stop participating in lamenting sessions. Stop feeding negative conversations. Stop giving energy to discussions about problems without solutions. Instead, become the person who changes the tone of conversations. Become the person who offers constructive perspectives. Become the person who inspires action instead of lamentation. And if people don't like this new posture of yours, make it clear that you've evolved and no longer have patience for low vibrations. Here's a truth that will free you. You have no obligation to carry others' emotional weight. You have no obligation to be everyone's psychologist. You have no obligation to solve problems of people who don't want to be helped. Your only obligation is to your own growth and to people who truly value your presence. Napoleon Hill discovered something fascinating. The most successful people were extremely selective about who they gave access to their energy. They understood that energy is the most valuable resource that exists, and that wasting energy on toxic people was the fastest way to sabotage their own dreams. So here's a practical exercise for you. Audit your relationships. Divide the people in your life into 3 categories: those who elevate you, those who drain you, and the neutral ones. And then start investing more time in those who elevate you, less time in those who drain you, and use the neutral ones as opportunities to practice your new mindset. But don't do this dramatically. You don't need to cut relationships aggressively. Simply start being more aware of where you put your energy. Start being more conscious about who you talk to, what kind of conversation you participate in, what kind of energy you absorb and emit. Because here's a universal law: you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If these 5 people are negative, complaining, victimist, guess what you'll become? But if these 5 people are positive, proactive, solution-focused, guess what you'll become? Now you might be thinking, but I don't know 5 people like that. And I tell you, then your first goal is to meet them. Your first project is to find your tribe. Your first investment is in building a network of relationships that supports you on the path to excellence. And you know where you find these people. In places where quality people tend to be. In personal development courses. In study groups. In professional networking events. In volunteer activities. In projects that make a difference. You won't find exceptional people in mediocre places. But here's the secret. To attract quality people, you need to become a quality person. To have access to brilliant minds, you need to develop your own mind. To be part of an elevated circle, you need to elevate your own standard. And this brings us back to the present moment. This moment of crisis you're living now isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation. It's the turning point of your life. It's the moment when you decide whether you'll be just another ordinary person who gives up at the first difficulty, or if you'll be one of those rare people who use difficulties as a springboard to greatness. Napoleon Hill spent 2 decades studying people who transformed adversities into abundance. And you know what was the most common characteristic he found in all of them? They had developed what he called persistence, unshakable persistence. It wasn't blind stubbornness. It was intelligent determination. It was the ability to keep adjusting strategy without ever abandoning the objective. This persistence wasn't something they were born with. It was something they developed through practice. Every time they fell and got up, they became a little stronger. Every time they faced an obstacle and found a way to overcome it, they became a little more confident. Every time they proved to themselves they could survive a storm, they became a little less haunted by the next one. And that's exactly what's happening to you now. You're in training. You're in life's gym, lifting emotional and mental weights that will make you stronger. You're in the University of Adversity, learning lessons that can't be found in books. You're in the laboratory of resilience, discovering internal resources you didn't even know you possessed. But here's the difference between those who come out strengthened from this experience and those who come out broken. Interpretation. 2 people can go through the same difficult experience. One comes out saying, "Life is unfair, I'm a victim. The world is against me." The other comes out saying, "I'm stronger than I imagined. I can overcome anything. I'm ready for the next level." Same experience. Opposite interpretations, completely different results. The first person becomes a magnet for more problems. The second becomes a magnet for more opportunities. The first person develops a scarcity mindset. The second develops an abundance mindset. And here's the most interesting part. You have total control over which interpretation you choose. You don't have control over what happens to you, but you have total control over what you do with what happens to you. This is your zone of power. This is your leverage to transform any situation. Napoleon Hill discovered something revolutionary. Our subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between real experiences and vividly imagined experiences. This means you can reprogram your automatic response to challenges simply by visualizing yourself responding strongly and intelligently. Here's a powerful exercise. Every night, before sleeping, dedicate 10 minutes to visualizing yourself dealing with your current challenges in a calm, strategic, and victorious way. See yourself making wise decisions. See yourself maintaining composure under pressure. See yourself finding creative solutions. See yourself coming out of the current situation stronger and wiser. Do this for 30 consecutive days, and you'll notice a dramatic change in your automatic response to problems. You'll stop panicking and start entering solution mode. You'll stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "How can I use this?" But don't stop there. Besides visualizing yourself dealing well with current challenges, visualize yourself having already overcome everything. Visualize yourself 5 years from now, looking back, telling this story as the moment that changed your life. Visualize yourself inspiring other people who are going through what you're going through now, because that's what happens to people who transform adversity into advantage. They become lighthouses for others who are lost in the storm. They become living proof that it's possible to get up. They become mentors for those who are still learning to be strong. And here's a profound truth. When you become someone who helps others get up, you become unshakable. Why? Because you develop a sense of purpose greater than your own problems. You understand that your struggle isn't just about you. It's about all those you can help through the example of your victory. Napoleon Hill realized that all truly accomplished people had developed what he called definiteness of purpose, definite clarity of purpose. They knew exactly why they existed, what their mission was, what difference they wanted to make in the world. And this clarity made them immune to criticism and resistant to obstacles. When you know why you're fighting, when you have a reason bigger than yourself, when you understand that your victory will positively impact other people, you develop a strength that transcends your own limitations. You connect with something greater, and this connection gives you inexhaustible resources. So here's a question that can change your life. Why do you need to get up? Not just for you, but for who else? Who is looking at you, hoping to see that it's possible? Who needs your example? Who will benefit from your victory? It could be your children, who need to see that problems are temporary, but character is permanent. It could be your parents, who invested so much in you and deserve to see you shine. It could be people you don't even know yet, but who will one day be inspired by your story. It could be yourself 10 years from now, who will thank you for not giving up today. Find that greater reason. Connect with that transcendent purpose, and then use that as fuel to continue when everything inside you wants to stop. Use that as light when everything around seems dark. Use that as an anchor when storms try to drag you away. And now, we come to the moment of truth. You watched this far not by accident. You got to this point because a part of you knows you're special. A part of you refuses to accept a mediocre life. A part of you understands that you were born for something greater. That part of you is right. You're not like other people. You weren't made to give up at the first difficulty. You weren't programmed to accept less than you deserve. You carry within you a potential that most people can't even imagine. But this potential needs to be activated through your choice. It needs to be released through your determination. It needs to be manifested through your consistent action. No one can do this for you. No one can choose greatness in your place. So now I ask you, who do you choose to be from today on? Do you choose to be just another person who had potential but wasted it? Or do you choose to be one of those rare people who transform potential into reality? Do you choose to be just another victim of circumstances? Or do you choose to be a creator of new circumstances? The decision is yours. But know that this isn't just an intellectual decision. It's an identity declaration. It's a commitment to your soul. It's a contract with your destiny. If you choose strength, know that it won't be easy. There will be days when you'll want to quit. There will be moments when you'll doubt yourself. There will be people trying to convince you to give up. But if you stay true to your choice, if you honor your commitment to yourself, if you keep faith in your potential even when no one else believes, then you'll become unstoppable. And when you finally reach the other side, when you look back at this moment, you'll understand that this was the day everything changed. This was the day you stopped being ordinary and started becoming extraordinary. This was the day you chose to be strong, even when everything was falling apart around you. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Choose courageously. Choose now.